to make it as short as possible because I know it's too hot, and maybe you are already in a cool place and enjoying this moment, but I still don't want to hold you here for a long time, even though the topic is worthy of speaking for hours, days, and years, as it has been going on for at least 2,700 years. This is one of the most interesting, the most discussed, debated topic in the literary world ever. And there are literally thousands of books about the topic, many researches. Many people invested hundreds of hours of their time, if not years of their time, to research and try to prove something, maybe in vain most of the time. Several years ago, I attended a talk about the wife of Suleiman the Magnificent, Roxolane, her Russian name, and the professor who gave the talk kept saying that there's no information about this person, and there's no information about this person, and kept saying she was very astute, she was smart, she did this, she did that, but there's no information. Well, what are we talking about then if there is no information? And she was promoting a book that she had been writing, and the book was published last year or the year before. I didn't bother to buy it to read it because she kept saying that there's no information. So then what you're writing is going to be just assumptions, hearsay, and you'll be simply beating around the bush and you're not really going through the bush. So this is another topic that people have very little information about. You have an epic story or two epic stories, and they are extremely rich in the way they are presented. The details are enormous. The dialogues are very lively and very intelligent, and they are so precisely put in order that you can even see interventions when you read it in Greek, and if you are proficient in ancient Greek, and if you know the nuances between different regions, you can detect those interventions, and you can simply say, hey, somebody changed the verses here, and it is quite likely that happened in the past. So anyways, this is an enormous topic, and of course our focus is coins and how Homer and his two epic stories appeared on coins. I usually use the Google Ngram viewer to check, how these words appeared in books in the last 500 years. So this is from 1500 to 2019. I search the word Homerus, and as you see, between 1700 and 1800, there were highlights. People discussed these a lot. And then around the turn of 1900, which, just before Schlieman's, or just after Schlieman's excavation at the Hisarlik Tepe, you see this, the spike has gone up. And then afterwards, it diminished a little bit, and then it is on the rise again. So it's about time for people to re-discuss this topic. And then, of course, you have to choose different spellings of the word. Now I have Homer instead of Homeros. And you see a similar trend during 1700s and all the way to the present time, it declines. So fewer people now use the word Homer than Homeros. And Trojan War, again, it was popular during 1700, 1750, and it's gaining a little bit interest in the present time. And finally, Odysseia, you can, of course, put all kinds of words here and check. I decided to check for these 4 words or names. Odysseia became really fashionable in 1850, 1900. This doesn't mean much, actually. These are only the words appeared in Google Books that were scanned and stored on Google Books. So there can be more books that have not been scanned and included in this. Just to give you an idea how this topic was evaluated and took interest between 580 and present day. And here finally Troy. This is the engram for the word Troy. So the core of this book describes the last couple days of the story. So it's supposed to be a 10-year war, which is credible, and this is here is a map that shows you how people of Greece or Achaia in the time of the story that passed traveled from their land into Troy, Ithaca, Peloponnese, and Sparta. Athens is not one of the strongest groups in the story, but they still added that. Thebes, and then Crete, of course, sent some sailors, so this is just a map that gives us an idea as to how these people traveled to Troy. And Odysseia describes another 10-year journey. Interestingly, 10-year in each story for Odysseus to sail back to his home in Ithaca. And Homerus, some people claim that he was a blind bard, as the tradition has been for centuries that mostly blind people develop this interest in storytelling, and but it is really questionable to claim that Homerus was a blind bard. His descriptions of people, events, war scenes, scenery, and imaginary gods and goddesses are incredible. A blind person could hardly make those assertions. So we might want to put aside the idea that this guy was a blind bard. Many people believe he lived in the 8th century BC, and he can be from Colophon, Smyrna, Chios, Ios, or Chima, and from many other places, as they claim on their coins, as we will see soon. And many philosophers, historians, lyricists, as early as the 7th century BC, speak about this writer. Herodotus, one of the most famous, says Homerus and Hesiodus established the lineage of the Greek deities, determined their looks and duties. So this is really interesting, and it's open to discussion and debate in many different facets. However, we will talk about it in a minute. Traditionally, later Greeks used to refer to Homer like a holy book. Many people thought it was a religious book, like a Bible. When they needed information about religion, politics, military, seafaring, medicine, they referred to a Homer. And Plato, who was educated actually in the same tradition, came up first to say, hey, wait a minute, what are they doing? This is not right. And we cannot take these books as religious books, and we cannot use the role of gods in our modern time the way their role was depicted in these epic stories. So it's really interesting to see how ancient people pursued, thought of Homer during their time. Now I have this, reviewing this idea, and I read Troy and Odysseia many years ago, maybe 40 years ago, when I was young, in my late teens. My teachers used to talk about reading certain books to be an illuminated person, to be a well-read person. You have to read 50 books, and on top of the list, as the last books that you're supposed to read, were Troy and Odysseia. So I was very eager to read all those books, and I was judiciously put those books in the end to read. And so I enjoyed them a lot at that time. And then before preparing this presentation, I read them again rather quickly, not very fast. And I developed certain ideas, and I would like to share them with you, and it's open to discussion. Does Homer really try to establish the foundation of the Greek religion, or try to show the wickedness of the religion and corruption of its deities of his time? This is my question. This is my idea. Maybe there are other scholars out there who feel the same way. I don't know. But in my view, theater, like epic poetry, comes with an agenda. It's not just to entertain. Now we have a lot of Netflix movies designed to entertain. They don't have an agenda, and if there is an agenda, it is just sheer entertainment. But theater didn't develop in that sense in the past. Yes, entertainment was there, but there was always a certain gist and certain moral that we have to take away after watching or during the show. So I believe when you read the epic story, you will see how wicked these gods and goddesses are, and they don't discriminate between Westerners or Easterners, and most people simply take sides when they read these epic poems. And depending on your geographical location, you support the Trojans. And maybe if you are from Greece, you support the Achaeans. And some people take it so seriously that they simply make some really unacceptable remarks about them. So first of all, the story was written by someone, we don't know if it is really Homerus or not, but someone who spoke the Aeolian and Ionian dialects. So Aeolia is somewhere here, and Ionia is here. So this person is actually from this region, nowhere else. And that's why the main manuscript that many people refer to when they translate it was written in those two dialects. So the story, of course, ends with Odysseus arriving in his hometown Ithaca and reclaiming his throne and wife. However, Octavian Augustus decides that it should continue because it is related to his time, to his ancestry, and he ordered Vergilius to write the Aeneid, and the story continued with the Aeneid. So you have to read on if you would like to enjoy the rest of the story during the 1st century BC. So this site of Troy, known also as Ilium or Ilios or Ilion, or in Turkish Troia, has attracted enormous attention over the years, starting with a British archaeologist or researcher at that time who claimed that Hisarlik should be the location of Troy in Homer. And a lunatic guy with lots of money in his pocket decided to go and dig. And this guy did his digging and ended up finding an enormous treasure, gold treasure. And he immediately claimed that he found the Homer's Troy. And scholars of the period who approached the location of Troy with skepticism had to accept it. And all of a sudden, everyone started to talk about Troy being at Hisarlik in northwestern Anatolia. And then, of course, skeptics came out and they started to examine the treasure, and then they immediately discovered that it is actually not the Troy of Homerus, but the artifacts actually belong to at least 1,000 years earlier than the time period if ever Trojan War happened. So the Troy too is actually the site of the treasure. So it is 2,500, 2,400 BC. And finally, excavations continued over the years, especially after the 1930s. And they discovered 9 layers of settlements in that area. Some of them smaller, some of them larger, and it looks that they continue getting larger and larger. And finally, they wanted to see that Troy 6 should be the location of Homer's Troy, because there was destruction, but the destruction was not as a result of war. It was an earthquake, most likely. And finally, Troy 7A and B were discovered, and they found destruction by a war, because they found quite many arrowheads and spearheads and burned down structures. Do those finds confirm that Troy 7 is the Troy of Homerus's Troy? No, it's absolutely not. And again, I couldn't find any information as to how many arrowheads they found, how many spearheads they found, how many other artifacts they found. The number of artifacts that they found is actually very small, not so big to suggest that there was a 10-year war in this place. And it is quite likely, it is very, very likely, in my opinion, that this is, and this comes from the imagination of the poet. If it is Homer, then it is his imagination, because Homer lives in the 8th century BC. The so-called Trojan War takes place in 1250 BC. So there is 500 years between the actual so-called war to happen and a poet to write that. So, 500 years ago, a war happens. There's no way you can remember everything. There's no way you can convey all the happenings, dialogues, the description of feast tables of gods. You cannot convey, transfer that information onto the next generations for 500 years. So we have to be realistic about that instead of thinking in a romantic way to prove that, yeah, here is the Trojan War, here we have archaeology that is supporting it, and here we have a manuscript to ponder on, and we have the story. And coins, again, ancient coins are very, very helpful for us to understand actually how ancient people thought about that. First of all, were they Greeks that waged war against the Trojans? In the book, they are identified as Achaeans. And in Hittite, we know that there are some people called Ahiawans, and their land is Ahiawa or Ahia. And also in Hittite inscriptions, tablets, we find a place called Vilusa, and it is actually located in an area where the ancient Ilium is located. So it is quite likely that the people who traveled to wage war on the Trojans came from Ahiawa, and they were Ahiawans. As the Hittites named them. We keep saying Greek, 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 but Greek is a name given by the Romans in the 8th century BC, and how they ended up calling them Greek is still debated. And as you know, southern part of Italy and Sicily was once called Magna Graecia. And most likely, the way they spoke sounded in a similar way to Graki, to the Romans, and they called them Graki. And then, hence, we have the word Greeks. And if you look at the Persians in the 6th and 5th century BC, late 6th century, early 5th century BC, they called them Ioannas. From Ionia. And interestingly, I don't know if there are any other country that calls Greece Yunan. They are called Yunanistan in Turkish, land of the Yunans. So Ionians. For many Turks, they were Ionians actually, and because they were the first Greeks or Greek-speaking people that they came into contact in western part of Anatolia. So there is a lot to discuss. There's a lot to ponder on. And then they found an inscription, Hittite inscription, and there was a name called Alexandu, and they wanted to equate that to Alexander, another name for Paris, but I think this is a futile attempt. And also, nobody talks about the finds related to Trojan War found in Mycenae, Sparta, or Ithaca. Excavations have continued in those locations for centuries, 2 centuries at least, and they find nothing. And then yet, everything that every little bit of item that they find in the site of Hisarlıtepe in Ilium, people try to jump into conclusions, trying to connect what they found to the Trojan War. We know their motivation. It is obvious. People want to gain fame. people want to make money. There are documentary producers out there. There are movie producers out there. And this is a very well-known, but so ambiguous story that you can make up anything and it will sell. This is how they feel, and this is how they approach the topic. So we have these famous figures, personages, King Priamos, Hector, Paris, and Aeneas on the one side, and on the other side we have Kings Menelaus, Agamemnon, Achilleus, Odysseus, and heroes Ajax and Protesilaus, and many others. As a numismatist and historian, and also a linguist, I pay attention to write and pronounce names as closely as to the original ones. I know that there is a certain way that these names are pronounced in the English language, which was actually borrowed from Latin, but I believe we have a duty to pay respect to the original language and try to write and pronounce those names as closely to the original as possible. That's why I write them this way. I hope you will forgive me for that. And lastly, when you read certain researches and watch certain documentaries, they talk about clash of civilizations, the conflict between East and West. I think this is abusing this story. And there was no clash of civilizations. They were not different civilizations. They were most likely the original people who lived in Ithaca and in Mycenae and in Troy spoke different languages, and they needed interpreters to communicate. However, in the story, they are fluent. They both speak the Greek language. So there is no clash of civilizations. There is no conflict between East and West. And bringing the story into this discussion is, I think, a poor suggestion, and people must not do such things. And here is a nice map that I found on the internet, around 200 names that we come across in the story of Troy and their hometowns or home places. This is really, really interesting. I'm going to make this presentation available on my academia page. So, and I'll put them in such an order that you can read. I'll put more information about each slide or on certain slides. So you can always go back and review this. And if you would like to have the presentation in the PowerPoint format, let me know and I'll be more than happy to give it to you. No copyrights. You're most welcome to share it with anyone that you like. And oops. Okay, so here I found some interesting information that I thought I would share with you. You know, these people talk about translating the manuscript from original language. I read it in Turkish and I loved it the way it was translated. I tried to read it in English. Sure enough, I preferred my Turkish one because it is my mother tongue, obviously. But you have such beautiful adjectives for each person in both Odysseia and Troia. And the way they were worded out in Turkish is so nice, so fit to the story and personage. When I read it in English, I didn't feel that way. But maybe it is because English is not my mother tongue, and that's why I thought that way. Anyways, there are more than 2,000 manuscripts according to the Wikipedia article about Homer, and here I have some examples of them. this should be an interesting consideration if we are going to research this. So the earliest depiction of the war on physical material comes from around 675 BC. This is in the Museum of Mykonos, a big vase with scenes from the Trojan War and the famous Trojan horse with Achaeans inside, and how even children were slain. They are depicted on these. I think the topic was really fashionable in the 6th century BC, especially the way they are depicted on black figure vases, and the protagonists are identified by their name, as you can see here. So the topic was really fashionable in the 2 centuries after it was made available. When we go to coins, finally, I'm not following a chronological order here, but I decided to give you some examples of Homer and his depictions on coins. So as early as the end of the 3rd century BC, 220, 190, a Smyrna coin, an autonomous coin of Smyrna, shows Homer on the obverse, and on the reverse, Zeus-like sitting figure holding a scepter and a roll in his hand. And it is obviously Homer, but not Zeus. Zeus would not hold a roll in his hand. He didn't rule by the book. He ruled by his wish and wicked sense of humor. And in the following centuries, the 1st century BC and the 2nd century BC and 1st century BC, we see similar depictions. The only change is that in this case, Homer is depicted leaning on a staff, and one hand in a thinking, or he's just maybe pointing at his mouth. Maybe he's trying to say that he's speaking. In my view, he's not thinking by putting his hand on his chin. It's not, but he is simply saying, I'm talking. So it is a live depiction of the poet talking or reading his book. And this is from 125, 115 BC. And this one is from the 1st century BC. As you see on the obverses, we have Apollo. Apollo is the protector or patron of the arts, poetry. So it's only fitting that Apollo is on the obverse of a 3-century long issue of coinage. Many cities on each side of the Aegean Sea claimed Homer. So of course, when you are a famous poet, singer, everybody wants to claim you. And this continues in modern Turkey, and I'm sure you would have the examples of that in Greece if you went to Greece. I was not able to confirm that with any of my Greek friends, but this is a tradition that continues to live on. These poets, famous poets, are claimed by many cities because we don't know where they are from actually. However, Strabo gives us some confirmation about Homer being from Smyrna. So he says there is a library, and in the library there is a Homeroom. So there's a place for Homer with a quadrangular portico, and there is a wooden statue of Homer, he says. And then he talks about a bronze coin of this city, and he says it is called a Homeraeon. And here they are. Again, beginning from the early 2nd century BC all the way to the Roman period, you see Homer depicted on the reverses of Smyrna coins. Again, the same way he is depicted on silver coinage, hand going to the mouth, and maybe on this one it is under the chin, but I don't know if that was intentional or the coin die engraver made a mistake. But if you review these series of coins, you will see most of them simply point at his mouth. So in my view, it simply says that, I'm talking. And finally, from the Roman period, we have this coin that clearly shows the poet is seated and holding his manuscript, and it's open, as you see. It's not, rolls are on two sides, so it must have been a huge roll, and you unroll it as you read it, and on two sides you still see the roll. So it's really interesting the way they depicted the scene that this person has been reading. And to clear off any doubt, they put the name of the poet here. So it says Omeros, and on the reverse it is the coin of the people of Smyrna, Smyrnaion. And on all the others, you see the name of the city, as well as sometimes magistrates that presided over the minting of the coin. So as you see, Smyrna has a very strong claim on this poet. This is from the Roman period, a coin of Nero with his wife, Poppaea. On the reverse, the poet is seated in such a way that there's no way you can deny that this is Homerus. So it's obvious there's no legend identifying the poet, but it is obvious that it is Homerus. Even the name of the city is abbreviated. Semir is on here. Now I'm going to show you some photos of certain art form performed by certain people in Turkey from early times to present times. So this is one of the earliest depictions of what we call in Turkish medda. Actually, it's an Arabic word. It's an encomiast. I don't know if that word means something logical to you, or panegyrist, or panegyrist. So these are the people who don't only talk about good things and embellish them, but they tell stories about people. And they start talking, and they act and talk at the same time. They have no books, they have no manuscripts in their hand, but what they have commonly in their hand is a staff or some kind of a staff that you see in the hand of this figure here. So this art work or art style still survives in Anatolia, and I wouldn't be surprised if it also survived in Greece now. So this is all about bringing people together and bringing up a topic and relating to the common concerns, interests of the people, changing the topic depending on the time, and depending on your location and the expectations of people in that location, and this is how they filled up these huge theaters. Amphitheaters are different, of course. They are for spectacles, but for regular theaters, it was mostly performances of theatrical works, not gladiator or gladiatorial war spectacles. Mostly you had plays happening here. And major genres at that time was comedy, satire, and or tragedy happening here. So we have to understand that these places were important structures where people gathered, not only to entertain, but to discuss, understand, criticize the happenings of their time. That's why Homer's Troia and Odysseia changed dramatically from one location to another. And the heroes highlighted in one location were demonized in another location. And coins tell us a lot about this. So we have to see that. Now, this is a very, very interesting coin from Chios, an island off the coast of Ionia. That's very close to Smyrna, Izmir modern. On the obverse, you have the badge of the city, so it's a sphinx. But on the reverse, you have a seated figure holding scrolls open, and you can read Ilia us. You can only be so descriptive. And kudos to those who identified these coins, of course. You know, if you didn't pay attention, close attention to the fact that the scroll was engraved with Ilia and us, you wouldn't really pay attention to it. It's a very small coin, about 15 millimeters, I believe. They didn't give the size of the coin, but it is a very, very small coin. Yet, we know that this person is Homeros. He's unquestionably identified as Homeros, and he's reading the Ilias. Colophon is another city that claimed the poet, and the depictions are similar and at the beginning, and then it varies. Here, the artist, coin die engraver, decided to put the hand under the chin. Maybe even that at that time they misunderstood the way Homerus was depicted on the earlier Smyrna coins, but here it is without a doubt the sitting figure is putting his fist under his chin. And on the reverse you see Apollo, another fitting figure. And then during the Roman period, we have two coins, one for Achilleon Severa here and one for Volusian. Again, this figure is seated and holding an open scroll, and you can almost read the inscription here. I couldn't find any explanation as to what is written here online, but it is so obvious that there are some letterings here, and I wouldn't be surprised if it is. It looks like Makhe, but I don't know. And then a very similar figure from the time of Volusian, again from the same city. In Bithynia, Nicaea claimed the poet on the coins of Geomedus. There are quite many others that we see. Again, the poet is either seated on a sella acrylis, which is more fitting. Sella acrylis is a portable chair, as you know, and this is for traveling poets. You see Asclepius depicted on sella acrylis too, because in the past, doctors would visit their patients. They wouldn't stay in a place, a hospital, to wait for their patients to come to them. They would go to their patients. The same was true for poets, and these are all traveling poets. That's why it is more fitting to sit on sella acrylis. However, this one we see he is seated on a kippus, or a kind of stone seat, which is also fitting if this person was to perform at a theater. He would be sitting on a stone stool. Again, the role is somewhat open here. So in one hand, he's holding the two parts of the roll and reading. In this one, it is only one roll. And another coin for Geomedus. This time we see the head of Homerus and clearly identified as Homerus. And it's not only Homerus here. It says Homerus Nikaeion. So there is a pun here. Nikaeion, the so-called coin of the people of Nicaea. However, putting the word Homerus in front of Nicaea, they simply say Homerus of Nicaea. This is really a good play with the words to claim the poet. In Aeolus, we have Kima, or Kume, some people would like to pronounce it, and which is more fitting in Greek, Kume. From the time of Septimius Severus, on the obverse we see this seated figure holding a scroll, and he's identified around the figure, and on the reverse, the famous Kimaion name of the city within a wreath. And again, Temnos, another city from the same region, we have a figure here. This person or this figure is not identified, but with the roll, slightly open roll in his hand, it is most likely Homerus. And finally, here we have a coin from Laodicea ad Lycium in Phrygia or Phrygia, again for Nero. I think you can make the connection with Nero, right? Nero thought that he was a Kipara player, and he was a poet and artist. So these provincial administrators were very shrewd in the way they appeased the emperor by choosing relevant topics. And so this is really interesting. This is an Omonia coin. So there are some relationship between certain people, and to claim the poet, they put the name of the poet here. This is really interesting. And here we are in Paphlagonia, quite far from Ionia. Okay, we can understand that the people in Chios can claim him, Smyrna can claim him, Aeolus can claim him, but Paphlagonia is on the western part of the Black Sea region. And look at this, how many coins we have from this city claiming, literally claiming that Homeros was from Amastris. Again, most of the coins simply say Homeros and Amastris. Amastriaon, a different way of saying it, the coin of the people of Amastris. And here is another one. Where was the other one? Let me see. And that's all saying that they claim that this person is from their city. Here is my map that shows where Amastris is. So Ionia, Aeolus are here, and Amastris here, and these people minted quite many coins. This is 2nd century AD most of the time, and of course these are all provincial coins to make any kind of claims about their identity and how famous and how glorious and how important they were. And claiming Homeros to be from their city, who would dispute at that time, and who cared if anyone disputed it? Okay, so let's continue. Oh, this one I wanted to show you. Yeah, this one literally says Homeros Amastriano. So Homeros of Amastria. It's 100% worded out that Homeros is from their city. This is really interesting. Then I came across this coin online, and they say it is unpublished, but the way it looks and the way it is defined is really interesting. It is fitting. Homer is seated in the middle, looking left, and you have here, they say Ares, and it also looks like Athena to me, but they wanted to call it Ares. And then on the right-hand side, you have Artemis holding a torch, and maybe a roll in the other hand. It doesn't look genuine to my eyes, but I might be wrong. I don't know. But if it is an original coin, it is very fitting to Amastris because the topic is very popular, obviously, in that city. But the way it looks is a little bit shaky to my eyes. Anyways, there are many coins that show scenes from the epic, but then there are coins that show scenes that are related to the epic. So in this story, we don't really read the beauty contest, but it is such a famous topic that I wanted to bring up to your attention. So this is a coin minted for Maximinus in Tarsus in Cilicia. And it is such a beautiful depiction of the judgment of Paris, as it is famously called, holding the apple in his hand and Logobolon in the other hand. And he has Aphrodite holding her hair, braided hair, and then Hera and also Athena seated and standing next to Aphrodite. So in this case, they use the famous depiction of Aphrodite. Actually, she's known to emerge from the Mediterranean, and she is usually wet. And when she came out, she simply squeezes her hair and try to squeeze off the water. And it is interesting that she is depicted in that guise here. And then there is a coin from Ilium struck for Commodus. You have the same scene, but depicted differently. And what is interesting here is that there is a syrinx here, a pen pipe depicted here. So we know that this was a kind of theatrical work displayed in accompaniment of music. So when you go to theaters, you didn't only watch serious tragedies, but you also watched comedies. And most of the time, as I said, they were related to their times. And in the story, if they wanted to depict the authority, let's say the emperor or the empress, they simply put that person in the guise of one of the figures in Troy or Odysseia, and they made that person look so despicable that people knew at that time that who they were referring to. It was not only displaying the original story, but it was a way for them to criticize of their times and their political agendas. Geomedus is a figure well known in this story. He is shown on the coins of Argos, Argolis. He's known to have stolen the Palladion from Troy. But we also know that the Palladion was taken to Rome by Aeneas, and this is this is a made-up story, and it went on a coin. And the interesting part is the figure here that we see is walking like a thief. His left leg is bending slightly, and his body is also bending. So he's stealing something. I think it's a genius way of depicting this scene on a small coin like this. Look at this. This is just a 20 millimeter coin, and the surviving examples are displaying excellent artistry on this coin. So it's a moving figure. It's a storytelling figure on a coin that this city decided to brag about their connection. And from the Roman period, we see the same figure reappear on a coin of Antoninus Pius. But this time he is proud to steal the Palladium or Palladion. He's not sneaking, trying to run away with his steal. Philoctetes is depicted on certain coins, but how are they related to the story? It's questionable. He was the son of the king Meliboea in Thessaly, and he was famous for his friendship with Heracles. They say that he lit the pyre of Heracles, and he inherited his bow and arrows. But on the way to Troy, he's bitten by a snake, and he could not continue his travel. He had to stay on a Greek or Aegean island. And during the war, they heard a prophecy saying that without using the bow and arrows of Philoctetes, you will never be able to win this war. So Odysseus took some men and went to this island to pick up the weapons, and went back and continued fighting. But Lamia and Homolion in Thessaly decided to use his depictions on coins, but they are not really related to the story that we were talking about. Maybe this coiling serpent is relevant, but the other figures are related to the mythology that is irrelevant to Troy. Protesilaus is one of the most loved figures, albeit very short role in the story, yet he showed a great valor, a very heroic act that is appreciated over the centuries. And on a coin of Achilleon in Macedon, he is depicted with his helmeted head, but not only his helmeted head is here, we have his name engraved around the cup of the helmet. Here you can read Protesilaon. It's incredible how this city decided to promote this hero on its coins. And again, a smaller coin from the same city, and a different depiction of Protesilaus from Thebai in Thessaly, jumping from the ship. And you can see he is about to touch the waves on the shore of Troia. So the story is the story was that the first person who will jump off the ship and land on the Trojan country is going to be the first one to die. So the soldiers on the ships knew about that, and Odysseus, as he's described, smart as or intelligent as Zeus, threw his shield on the ground, on the shore, and jumped on it on the shield. But somebody had to jump on the land and taking the risk despite the, against the prophecy to show his commitment to the clouds. And Protesilaus jumps, and sure enough, as the prophecy suggested, he was killed by Hector. That's why he's so famous. And two different regions, Sicyon in Macedon and Thebai in Thessaly, decided to claim this hero. We have this depiction of Ajax suiciding from Prusa ad Olympium in Bithynia. Again, this is modern Bursa, and not too far from the site of Troy, maybe 100 kilometers to the east. Yet, why they chose to have this topic on their coins, it's really an enigma, at least to me. I don't know why they decided to do that. But the story is that after Achilleus was killed, Ajax, being the most heroic warrior of the Achaeans, should inherit his weapons but he was not granted that, and he feels outraged and he decides to kill himself. And as you see on Black Attic we have this scene showing him falling on his sword and committing suicide. And sure enough, this is related to the story. We also have Ajax the Lesser depicted on coins. He's from Locris area in Greece, more precisely, East Locris. So he, according to the story, he led 40 ships during the Trojan War. After Troy's fall, he was alleged by Odysseus to have violated the sanctuary of Athena by ravishing Cassandra. That depiction is also very famous, that you find on Pompeian wall paintings. And it is believed at that time that he brought down the wrath of Athena upon himself and his countrymen. But yet, the people of Locri or Pinti decided to honor him on their coins. A very beautiful depiction of the hero. This story is very well known. After Patroclus, a good friend of Achilleus, was killed by Hector, and his weapons and armor were seized by him. His mother runs to Zeus and asks Zeus to talk to Hephaestus to make new weapons for him, and also armor for him. And this is a good depiction of that scene. You see Hephaestus working, forging a helmet, and Athena is presiding over the work. And this is from Marcianopolis in Moesia Inferior in the Balkans. So it's quite a distance from the real story, but people found it relevant for some reason. And you have this from Lydia, from the city called Theateria, and the same topic. And you can find the same topic used in quite a few other cities. So this topic was very, very famous. And here is another example, a different one from Ankyra in Galatia in central Anatolia. In this one, you see Hephaestus working, and also there is the Kyklop here. How they connected a Kyklop to the story is beyond me. But at that time, they somehow found some kind of a relationship between the two stories. That's why I say that these two epic poems were displayed in many different places, but not in the original format most of the time. There might have been the times that they, displayed it in the original format, but I believe they most of the time used these stories to relate to their times and show their criticism to the ruling classes. Now, Achilleus is the greatest hero together with Hector. Yet, his representations on coins is not proportionate to his fame in this story. Very small coins, and mostly from Thessaly. And yes, he is clearly identified as Achilleus. So there's no doubt that this depiction belongs to Achilleus, as you see here. And these are all from the 2nd century AD, mostly 2nd century AD, and if not the 3rd century AD. And on all of them, you see that he is identified as Achilleus. And on this one, we also see the monogram, AX monogram, that stands for Achilleus. Very interesting. On the obverse is the wreathed hat of Achilleus. They would like to identify it, and I have no problem with that. So these are all from Thessaly. Yet we have another coin from the Troas area. There is, or there are, two cities. One is called Achilleon, obviously named after either this hero or someone famous for them, or there is another place that they call Achilleon. So, and then when you Google these names, you find some Turkish websites, travel websites, showing signs directing you to the tomb of Achilleus. When you go there, of course, you don't find any tombs or anything, but somehow local people decided to take advantage of the story, and they simply direct people into an area, and they claim that the tomb of Achilleus was there. Anyways, but the story, the coin and the monogram on the reverse clearly is reminiscent to the Puma coin. So it should be referring to Achilleus, and also the helmet facing left is also relevant. So it's really interesting how the cities decided to use these depictions to claim a hero. But as you see, these are all very small coins, nothing really serious, no silver coins for Achilleus. That's why I say his depiction on coins is disproportionate to his fame in this story. And then we have some other coins that coin sellers try to relate to Achilleus, but without any base, I would say. Here a coin from Samos, another island off the coast of Ionia. You have a helmeted figure. Something happened when they minted the coin, so it's not really clear, but he looks like a naked soldier. We don't know what he has in his hand. Not a sword, not a spear, obviously, just a shield. So it's really difficult to attribute this figure. However, they decided to call it Achilleus. I don't disagree, but I don't also approve it. And then we have this coin, again from Samos, showing a figure fighting or stabbing or killing another figure. And they want to believe that it is Achilleus stabbing the queen of the Amazons. Again, it's very open to debate, and I don't think they are related to the story. But if you read the descriptions or auction descriptions, people love to make the connection. Hector, on the other hand, appears on many coins, mostly on the coins of Ilium, of course, and during the Roman period. And on all these coins, he is clearly identified. And then you have certain scenes depicting certain periods or episodes in the story. So in this case, he's approaching the Achaean ships, and he's going to put them aflame soon. And he's fighting the Achaeans to reach the ships to burn them. And this coin clearly shows that. And on another one, he accomplished his work, and now he's showing his respect to the patron deity of the city, and he's most likely libating in front of the Palladium. And another scene from the war, the wounding of Teucer or Tokler, And this is really interesting on this coin. This is a very, very rare coin. On this coin, the figures are identified. So Hector, Teucros, and Aias are here. And this is really interesting. Hector is holding a rock in his hand and grab the opponent here is about to strike. And then the other figure is actually running to the right, yet turning and about to throw a spear. It's a very, very strong depiction of the scene. So Teucer or Teucer was the half brother of the Achaean hero Ajax the Greater, also a nephew of King Priam of Troy and a cousin of Hector. So intertwined personality. So as you see, you don't have the West and the East. These figures are all related to one another. The whole idea of the story is showing people that there is good and bad in all of us. And here are some examples of them. So siding with the Greeks and hiding behind the giant shield of his half-brother, Teucer used his skills as an archer to defend the Achaeans against the Trojans, it says. And great by Teucer's success during one of these fights, Hector picked up a huge rock and flung it at Teucer, injuring him so badly that he was forced to withdraw for some time while he recuperated from the concussion. And this scene is depicted on these coins. By the way, Caracalla is set to visit the site on his way to the Parthian War. And it is also said that Alexander the Great also visited the site and sacrificed some animals to show his respect. So, you know, it wouldn't be too surprising, I guess, for them to do that. And then we see more depictions of Hector in action on a quadriga, brandishing, and here on not a galloping quadriga anymore, but holding a Nike in his hand and a wreath in the other hand, obviously showing him victorious in his wars. This is one of the most striking and touching scenes that you can see on a coin. You have obviously Hector here and a female figure and holding a baby and presenting a baby. I think it is discernible. I'm sure you will agree with me that, you know, this is a very, very dramatic moment. Andromache with little Astyanax, their baby, presenting it to her husband, asking him not to go out of the citadel. And this is the last moment. The family is saying farewell. And as a last resort, the wife, Andromache, is presenting the baby to the father and in a hope that, she can stop her husband to go to his death. Very, very nicely depicted scene. Hector continues to appear on the coins of Ilium in different ways, small, large, and even on a coin from the same region of Rhinon, with his head facing. Really nice depictions of the hero on these small coins. Now, these coins are very well known from Pyrrhos in the Epeiros kingdom in Greece. They are identified, or the figures on the reverse, the figure on the reverse is identified as the mother of Achilleus, Thetis. It's a figure seated on an hippocampus, a sea horse, holding a shield, and it is it is identified as Thetis, and nobody really questions that. But you don't have Achilleus on silver coins, yet you have his mother. Well, you can argue that his mother was the daughter of Zeus, and that's why she was thought of godly. That's why she was used on coins. But it is, in my view, it's a little bit, again, questionable that this figure is Thetis, but it is, and nonetheless identified as such. And then you have a similar figure from Kyzikos, and this time this female figure is holding a wreath and a shield, but riding a dolphin. Yet they later on suggested that it was a naval victory related scene depicting a narrate, likely in commemoration of the Battle of Kyzikos in 410 BC. So, we should not really jump into conclusions when we see these coins and depictions. Again, this is a coin from Mantinea. For many years, this figure was thought to be Odysseus, only later to be identified as a dancer, which is more settling. But just keep this figure in mind. I'll show you another coin and how this figure deceived people in the past based on another coin. So these are two interesting coins. One from Macedon, a bronze coin from the time of Severus Alexander. On the reverse, we see Alexander nude, seated to write on a bench. His right hand is on the bench and his left is resting in his lap. Before him to right, a Nike is coming and presenting a helmet to Alexander. And in left, by her left side, there's another shield resting here. So they would like to identify this as the Nike is bringing the helmet and the shield of Achilles. The suggestion is fitting. I have no problem with that because the same scene is seen on a unique medallion from the Bekircan hoard. This is an incredible artifact. It was not meant to be a coin, obviously. It was a kind of medallion struck for most likely Caracalla. Mostly Caracalla is on the obverses. That's why it should be Caracalla. But the legend says Basileus Alexandru, so King Alexander. And on the reverse, we have a very similar depiction of the figures, Alexander and Nike presenting a helmet and a shield. Very, very interesting coins and artifacts. So here we have another coin from Bithynia, Chalcedon. And this is very difficult to identify. And on the reverse of this one, you see the abbreviation of the city name, Chalx, actually. So numismatists would like to suggest that the bearded head on the obverse is representing the mythological seer Calchas as a punning allusion to the name of the city. It is quite likely because these cities wanted to have some glorious connection to historical figures. And the name of the city is Chalcedon, and Calchas, very similar. So here is a bearded guy who's a seer, a very important, powerful person in history, and they might have simply claimed Calchas. And coinage of Achilleon starts early, actually, in the 2nd century BC. Once the Romans defeat Antiochus III after the Apamea War, Apamea peace in 189, many cities were given their freedom. They were set free. Point blank, and they started to mint their own coins, autonomous coins, and this is one of those. An incredibly beautiful obverse and likewise a very beautiful rivers. The figure that we see on the rivers is identified as Athena, and it is the legend also testifies that, but it is a very, very different representation of Athena, yet still this is related to the topic. Priamos appears on a coin of Ilium, again on a coin of Crispina, wife of Commodus, on the reverse. How do we know this is Priamos? Because he is identified, Ilion, Priamos, on the coin. And another coin here related to the story, again, bragging Ilium about its connection to this story. The legend is interesting here. Dia Idion Ilies. The deity of Mount Ida. So they claim that the Zeus is also from their city. This is really, really interesting. The Mount Ida is for certain scholars simply is a mountain in central Greece, and for others and for many Anatolian cities, there are at least 5, 6, 7 Mount Idas in Anatolia. So everybody claims not only the god, but the mount either, the mountain as well. So this is another interesting coin. So remember I said, remember that depiction of the figure, the Odysseus or Ulysses in the Roman culture is depicted on this Republican coin. The monier is Mamilius and Limetanus. And on the reverse, we see Odysseus or Ulysses advancing, holding staff and extending hand to his dog Argus, come to greet him. So the story is when he arrived in Ithaca as a poor beggar, his horse recognizes him. And it is so wonderful. Look at this dog. The way the dog was depicted simply tells us how the story or the scene took place. And the similar figure, someone resting on staff on the prow of a ship, is also identified as Ulysses standing on the prow of the ship. So the other figure that I showed you earlier is very similar to this one, and early scholars thought that it was Odysseus. Again, he appears on this restitution issue of Trajan. And then on another coin from Ithaca, very rare, that's his homeland, we have Odysseus wearing Peleus, and on the reverse we have Thunderbolt. Really rare, and you would think that Ithaca would simply embrace Odysseus and strike more coins, but not. The mythological figures that we see in Odysseia, Scylla here, very lively scene of the creature, and Tarsus or Gordian, and at least 2 other emperors in Tarsus. Other mythological figures that we see on other coins might not have anything to do with the story itself. These are from 500, 450 BC coins. These are all winged sirens, except for this Roman coin from the time of Augustus. They obviously, these mythological figures were known, and they were used for certain reasons, either to scare off forgers or just to represent the city. But we know that Kyzikos struck so many coins with so many different topics. I think they ran out of topics, and they used all kinds of, they supported the artists who engraved their coins in terms of creating different art, and you get so many of them. And then in Caria, some uncertain dynasties struck coins with the depiction of the siren, and here even the siren flying from above. I mean, look at the imagination of this artist. They had no limits. The story continues with Virgil's Aeneid, and the coins of Ilium clearly depict that. Of course, we know this scene from other Roman coins. And in Troas, Antandrus also used the same depiction. So the story is very well represented on coins. Another related story, Aeneid related story, here we have Tyche and Aeneas standing and presenting statue of Athena Ilias to Roma. So very beautifully depicted scene, and the figures are one by one identified. Another interesting coin, this is, I think, another unpublished coin, not exactly related to the topic, but it's very rare that Athena is depicted with her attribute, an awl in her hands. She's holding an awl in her hand. Very, very cute coin. We have Contorniatus bearing scenes from the Odysseia. Unfortunately, they're not very well preserved, but when you look at them carefully, you see that Scylla is grabbing the sailors from the Odysseus's ship and killing them. And these are really interesting ones. And then this one is extremely interesting. I think it was Owen who asked if Helen was depicted or David. Yes, Helen is depicted here. Helen standing right. This figure is Helen, clasping hands with Paris, Alexander, wearing a Phrygian cap. Helen also touches his cheek with her left hand. So Alfildi did a great job explaining the scene here. A very, very beautiful scene. And you know, I have no problem with the description. And then we have Paduan copies. A mule copy reverses from a coin of Mithridates VI, and on the obverse we have Omeros. So really interesting copy. And another cast bronze medal set to be by Alessandro Chissati, 1500s, showing Homer or Ilias Priamos. The figure is identified, or Basileus Priamos, King Priamos, and the ancient city of Troy on the reverse. A fantasy piece. And in modern times, some European countries, German most likely, and Greece, and you wouldn't believe it, but China minted related coins. And then, of course, the epic stories were carried on the movie scenes or movie screens. These are some of those. Quite a few of them are available on YouTube and in different channels. The wooden horse from the movie Troy is left on loan to the city of Çanakkale in not too far from the site of Troy. And then, of course, this one was built during early 1970s to attract tourists. So we have two wooden horses now in that area, one on the site of the ruins and one in the city nearby. The locals still do certain they held festivals here. It is called Mount Ida Beauty Contest. So you have a shepherd here representing Paris and giving an apple to the three lady contestants. And I would recommend that you try to watch this one if you're interested in opera music, La Belle Hélène by Jacques Offenbach. It's beautiful music, beautiful comedy. And so the tradition continues. And then there is a Turkish opera that's a serious opera. The Destruction of Troy. It's in Turkish. Not the complete presentation is available, but some scenes of it are available on YouTube. But no one else, to my knowledge, carried this into opera scene other than Jacques Offenbach. But I would definitely recommend that you watch this. This is one of my favorites. I love it. Further reading, if you would like to know how the site of Hisarlıktepe, the Troy, was found, Kurt Marik or Kurt Seram wrote this book, and this is one of my favorites. This book is a gem. You can find a lot of interesting stories here. And this book is available online. Here is the link. You can just go and download it. It's an interesting read if you're interested in this. There are many documentaries. This one is by Brian Rose, who has excavated the Roman early first century and Roman period site in the site of Ilion. So he is the excavator of the Roman period mostly. The Bronze Age site is excavated by some German teams for many years. But this one is really interesting to watch. Even though I disagree with many of his assumptions, it's interesting. The interactive map of the ancient city of Troy, this website is really incredible to show us how the city was built on top of one another by the superimposed maps. Here is another one about the same topic. And you can also watch Michael Wood, his series and 6 parts in search of the Trojan War. So I call him Schliemann reincarnated. He wants to prove what Schliemann thought was true in Wayne. One scene is really interesting. He's interviewing a professor from Oxford or Cambridge, and he says, well, I know that you call them Achaeans, but aren't they actually Greeks? He says, well, Homer doesn't say they are Greeks, and Greek is a word that came to have known several centuries afterwards. So they're Achaeans. Well, wouldn't you call them Greeks? He says, no. Homer doesn't say they are Greeks. Oh, he goes on and on. Anyways, it's an interesting pastime if you have the time. And then there is this website. It says the Trojan War, ancient numismatic mythology. And there is also this one, Trojan War locale, numismatic evidence. I disagree with some of the ideas here, but all the same, it's a very well-researched and displayed study, worth spending some time to look at. Yep, that's it, I guess. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And I can answer your questions if you have any. I think there are some comments. Okay, some comments here. Sorry about my late appearance. Guest arrived. Okay, Peter Mook, thank you, no problem. And the Iolus schema coins reverse looks strikingly like the large sense of the Dominion of Canada, circled with leaves in the outer border. I didn't know that. That's interesting information. And Sir Am's book was influential in my teenage years. Yes, yeah, the same way his books. He has several books. There is one about the Hittite site, Karatepe. Some of my friends from Vancouver will remember my presentation on Karatepe. So he also wrote the story of the discovery of that Hittite site, where they discovered a bilingual inscription that helped decipher the Hittite language. So that was very interesting. Okay, I'm ready to take your questions if you have any.